Hello and welcome to another vlog. So, I don't know if you noticed, but I did something a little different. First thing I wanted to do was show you guys that my library is very different from what you last saw. So I had moved over these two bookshelves that were to the right of the fireplace. I moved them over a little bit so that I could fit another black one. And it looks pretty empty right now, but I had rearranged some books to make it fit a little better. And then the biggest change is this corner. So something that I've been really wanting to do is have bookshelves line every wall in this room. And we finally found a really cheap set of bookshelves at Walmart. They were only like $30 a piece. So I bought, I don't even know how many, I think 6 or 7 altogether. But as you can see, and you probably have seen this in the background of one of my videos already, but I have rearranged my Stephen King books so that they feel a little better. And then this looks really empty right now, but here is a bunch of other books along here. So down here are books that I want to get rid of at some point for like little libraries or donate to a library. And then up here we have my TBR on the left and the books that I've read on the right for the month. And then this pile are a bunch of books that I really want to read. And then over here, I have my classics bookshelf. So it looks really messy still right now, but we moved over a bookshelf that had the manga at one point, and we put like a bunch of the classic editions from Barnes & Noble. We put the Harry Potter books over here, some Hardy Boys over here, put my old Globe. Again, we still need to do a lot of painting and stuff, but we went ahead and moved over all that stuff. We moved this cabinet so that it's kind of like an island that juts out and has one of my favorite plants on it and a couple other doodads. And then over here, I have my TBR cart. And then the bottom 2 shelves of this bookshelf also has books that I've bought within the last year. So it definitely has overfilled this cart. And then I have my book of the month books and then all of my manga. And so the manga is a lot more spread out now. As you could see, there's nothing down there, but you could see that there's all of the manga spread out very evenly. I'm sure you'll see some that I didn't have before, like all of that One Piece. You'll see when and how I got those, hopefully in a new video coming up soon. And then, as you know, I have my chair right here and the table. It's covered with a bunch of stuff right now. That's nothing new, but I got the lamp to hang back up. It's a really old lamp, but it really gives a nice glow to the room. Obviously the light right here. So got everything put back together. And the room's looking really nice now, honestly. Like I still can't get over that corner. That corner looks so good. But yeah, so this week, so I did a lot of that kind of work. We worked on that during the week after our vacation, and hopefully you'll be seeing the vlog before this one of all the clips that we took in that New York City trip, and also all of the books that I bought while we were there. So yeah, we worked on this room throughout the week, kind of really just needed a break. I worked on some videos and edited some videos that you'll be seeing later. Maybe you've even seen them by now. I was working, maybe a spoiler, but I was working on my own reading challenge game, my own TBR game. So hopefully you'll be seeing that here really soon. But yeah, so I was really busy last week. I'm trying to get all that stuff done. I did a little bit of reading, not too much. I finished One Last Stop, which I was reading during the vacation, a little bit of vacation / after it. And then I also read Docile, which was the Burn Books Club book that I had to read for the months of May and June. So I finally was able to finish that. I actually just finished that yesterday. So finished that. But the main purpose of this vlog, however, is I'm going to challenge myself to read 150 pages, or it'll actually end up being 160 pages a day for a whole week for 7 days. And the reason for that is because I have been given an ebook of a book that was just released recently. It's actually the first, it's not an ARC, but it's a book that was sent to me by the publisher to review on NetGalley. and I'm really happy because this is the first time I've ever had a book that I had to review. It's a really big fantasy book that just was released on June 1st, I believe, of this year. So the book is called The Binding Tempest. It is written by Stephen Rudy, and the description, I have it pulled up on my phone right now. The description says, The Binding Tempest is the beginning of a new epic sci-fi fantasy series, a classic high fantasy adventure injected with steampunk science. And that was actually like, that part alone was the biggest reason why I really wanted to read this book and to review it, because I love steampunk and I'm really getting into the high fantasy novels, so I was really excited to see that this was actually an option that I could review. So the description for the book is a fallen empire, a failed republic, and a frontier of alchemy, magic, and machines. 40 years after the Great War, Ilaria, a former war hero, discovers the coalition of nations has fallen under the control of a new Sagon Dark Lord. A luminary with the power to control energy has emerged to reclaim the vacated throne, but their true identity remains hidden. With no one left to trust, Ilaria sends for help from old allies scattered across the chaotic frontier. Now 3 aging veterans and a band of young rogues are all that can protect the failing republic from the return of an evil empire. Together, their only hope lies buried with the mysteries of the past and an ancient relic called the Tempest Stone. The Binding Tempest is the first book in a new fantasy series that blends sci-fi and fantasy in an adventure through a world of steam and steel. So I had read that description before the publisher sent it to me, obviously, and I had requested to be able to review it, and it was sent to me within the same day, and I was really excited about it. At first I thought it wasn't even real, but then when I downloaded it onto my iPad, and I saw that it was 1,100 pages, I got really excited because it's something that I didn't even think was possible for like this soon into, you know, my booktube career, and into like I just started reviewing books on Goodreads also in the last month. So to get this opportunity to be able to review something that's brand new like that makes me really excited. Now, I don't typically like reading ebooks. I prefer reading physical books, but I am really excited to read it regardless. And I'm actually charging my iPad right now to start it today. So the challenge for this week is that I want to read 160 pages a day for 7 days so that I'll be able to finish it before the end of the month. It is 1,100 pages, so I should be able to finish it. I think it'll be a little less for the last day, maybe even a little more, I'm not sure. It's close to that 160 pages a day to be able to get to the end of the book. So hopefully I'll be able to finish it. Hopefully I'll be able to keep up that challenge. I haven't been able to read any so far. I was doing some editing earlier today. Had a little bit of a late start for the day, but I'm going to hopefully start reading it before I head over to work, and then I can't imagine not being able to read a lot at work today. So I won't be able to check in with you while I'm at work, but I'm really excited to get started with this, and I hope to take you along as I read through this and kind of tell you my thoughts as I progress through the book without spoiling if possible. Hello. So it is June 22nd, Tuesday. And I just wanted to update you on my reading progress. So first of all, I realized that The Binding Tempest, the book that I got for review, it's not 1,100 pages. Those were Kindle pages. It actually is 430 pages. So kind of happy that it's a little smaller so that I will definitely be able to finish in the next couple days. However, I had said that I wanted to do a challenge to read 150 pages a day, and I'm still going to do that. Originally, it was just going to be for The Binding Tempest, but I'm going to actually read a few other books to try and finish off my TBR anyway before the end of the month. So I'm still going to do the challenge, but it's going to be between a few different books. So, first thing I wanted to do was just go over the other book that I'm reading at night, because I don't like reading ebooks at night. I like to try and give myself a break from looking at electronics when I'm in bed. So I am reading a physical book. I'm reading Call Me By Your Name. I don't like this book. I've read 50 pages of it so far over the last two nights, and it is awful. It's the whole thing is just about this guy fawning over a person that's in their home for the summer, and I'm just not enjoying it. I almost DNF'd it after only 20 pages. But I'm going to try and read the whole book if I can. It's going to be pretty difficult, but I mean, hey, I'm gonna push it. It might only be 1 star, but I'm going to push it. I'm only reading it at night anyway, for now, until I finish The Binding Tempest. So, but right now, yeah, I don't even want to give an update on it. It's just awful. I think the only updates I'll give you for this book is just how I'm feeling about it, to be honest. So yeah, I read 25 pages last night of that. I'm at page 50 now. And then, as far as The Binding Tempest, don't mind me, I'm actually looking at note paper because I'm really bad at remembering small details, and I really want to make sure that I give honest review of this book as I'm reading it. So I jotted down some stuff as I was reading. I read about 116 pages of it last night, so I'm about a quarter of the way done with it already. I had quite a bit of time at work to read. Basically, what I'm getting the impression of is that it's an expansive world that was created by the author, and he actually has a lot of maps drawn out at the beginning of the book, but he also has them dispersed throughout the chapters to not only give you an idea of like the area that the characters are in at the moment, but also at the beginning of every chapter there's like a little rectangle with a magnifying glass showing the exact location of that character in that chapter. And I actually really appreciate that. I've never seen another book do that before. It really gave me context as to where in the map the characters are. I could always reference back to the main map to see, okay, this town is actually in this part of the island or of the continent. And so it was really nice to be able to have that, because this book actually follows quite a few characters and like their point of view. So one of the main characters is named Alaria. She seems to be this person that fought in the Great War in the past, and she was actually one of I believe she was actually a general in the Great War. Yeah, so she was a general in the Great War. Now she's a scholar. She's kind of like teaching people about magic and about what happened in the past. I get the impression that she really likes to show information that a lot of the government and officials want to try and keep from people. And I don't know, there's just some really cool. So the very first line in the book is, "Sorrow is a tree that grows from the soil of wisdom." I know it was the very first sentence, and usually you want to try and draw the reader in, but that was just such an impactful sentence. I really enjoyed it. I'm actually going to have that in my quote journal. So I thought that was a really great start. They have really cool things like a card game called Reckonar. I really love it when fantasy worlds come up with games like card games and dice games and stuff, and really explain the rules and to kind of give context to why it's important in the world, even if it is a very minor thing. I just think it's really neat, and I would love to actually play the game myself, because it kind of gave me the impression of a magic kind of. Not magic as in the spells and stuff, but magic as in the card game. So there is actually a few other characters that they go over. Coven is another character that you read a lot about the point of view. You kind of get the impression that he's maybe a murderer or a thief, because he said that he's killed quite a few people, but he was also a fighter in the Great War with Alaria. He is friends with Alaria. There's also Wade. Now he is a younger person. He actually met Alaria in the town that they're in currently, and he seems to be an acolyte at the College of Arcana. So he's kind of studying to be a spellcaster or something of that sort. Another person that you get the point of view of is Tali. Now Tali seems to be part of this kind of messenger system organization called the Whisper Chain, but it seems it's kind of corrupt in that there's a contact that she has that told her in the story that there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of things going on that he wants to try and protect her from. And so what she decides to do is run away with Coven, who ends up meeting with her at some point in the story pretty early on, and she ends up going on a train with him to escape, to be able to get away from the town that they're in, so that she isn't part of whatever corruption is happening, and to kind of protect her. But she's also kind of wrapped up in Coven trying to get to the city where Alaria is, because she had sent him a message to basically say hey, I need your help right now. Another person that you see the point of view of is Laren. He seems to be a hunter, again someone that was friends with Alaria, and there's whole another plot going on with him, and how he met this one person over at a hunting lodge that no one else should know of. And it seems there's a lot of interesting things going on with him and his mother in the town that he grew up in, and that there's soldiers there that want to have mischief. There's something going on that's very corrupt that's going on with the Empire itself. So yeah, other than that, there is a lot of very specific things that they talk about in the story. So they have stuff like Freedom of Mind Act, which is the future of education through scholars and scientists, and that's a very big thing with scholars, and that's actually how they tie in a lot of the steampunk-esque environments, and how they're the ones that created these technologies and influences, but also having magic incorporated in it. And one thing I did realize or notice a lot in the story is that yes, there's magic, your general magic spells and stuff, and yes, there are mechanists and scientists, and that's how the steampunk technology is incorporated. But they also have stuff like myths and crystals, and stories that are kind of incorporated into the lore. and it kind of gives me the impression that like even with the technology and the magic, there still is like history that no one is really sure if it's real or not. So far, I'm really liking how the story is kind of told. I'm really liking how there are quite a few characters, and it's actually been pretty easy to follow all the characters and kind of like where they are on the map and where they are in the setting and the history of Alaria and the Great War. I'm really hoping that they go over more of what happened in the Great War. I mean, they mention a Quidden Lightweaver who is called the Quantum Man, and I guess he's missing. A lot of people think he's dead, but some people think that he's still alive, and they're trying to like capture him because he was a war hero, but he was also someone that like I guess a lot of people are afraid of. And Alaria is trying to find him as well. She's trying to like get her band back together, the people that fought with her in the war, because she thinks that there's a lot of corruption going on with the Empire itself. So it's really interesting, like 100 pages in, 116 pages in, I'm already seeing a lot of this like corruption in the government, and as well as like how their past is tied in with the present. Them just trying to like get back together and try and like solve it, try and figure out a way to escape and to fix this corruption that's happening. So I'm really enjoying everything that I've read so far in the book. I'm hoping to read, so I wasn't quite able to get to 150 pages yesterday. I got closer to like 140, so really close, but today I'm hoping to hopefully read another 150 pages to kind of keep it up. I'm thinking that I'll be able to make up any differences that I have later in the week. But yeah, so I'm hoping to read another like 130 pages of The Binding Tempest today, and I'm really trying to get through Call Me By Your Name. I think I'll be able to read another 15-20 pages later tonight of that. So yeah, I will let you know probably tomorrow where I'm at with The Binding Tempest. Hello! So it is day 3, Wednesday, June 23rd. So I know I haven't really been vlogging a lot other than just, you know, these reading updates, but I have been reading quite a bit actually. So I kind of realized something about myself. I don't really like reading ebooks. I mean, I will read them, especially the fact that I'm reviewing these ones, but they make my eyes really tired. And I don't know, I just like the feel of actually turning pages, like the physical feel of a book in my hands. Like I just prefer that so much more than like tapping on a screen or scrolling on a screen. Like I don't know, it doesn't really do it as much for me. And I also realized that I can't read as much when it's an ebook. I don't know, it's weird that that's the reason why I'm not reading as much as I usually do. Like usually I can knock out, when I'm really concentrating on a book, I could knock out 150, 200 pages easy in a day. Usually I can't do it every day, but for the most part I can knock out that much in a day. With this book, The Binding Tempest, because it's an ebook, I'm having a little harder time reading it, not because I'm not enjoying the book, but because it's an ebook and I'm just not reading it as fast as I usually do. So it's going to take me probably 4 days, maybe 5, only to finish it. But yesterday I actually ended up having to take a break from reading it only because my eyes were really straining, like really tired. And I actually picked up a third book. So I was intending to read this third book as well during this week for this 150 page challenge, but I wasn't really expecting to start it immediately like this. So it's kind of funny that I'm reading 3 books at once. I usually don't do that, but hey, that's what's happening. So just to give you a recap, so I am continuing my progress of Call Me By Your Name. I am still not really enjoying it, although at least I'm able to read it. So when I first started, it was really hard for me to even want to read, but now I'm at least reading it. So I don't know, I'm probably not going to DNF it. I'm going to give it till page 100 and see. But I did find a quote, and for those of you that have read the book, you probably know what I'm talking about, but it is when the guy that's like narrating for the story, he finds Oliver's red shorts in the closet, and it's not that far into the story, so it's not really a spoiler, but he basically takes the shorts out of the closet and shoves them in his face. And he says stuff like, so this quote says, "I kept repeating to myself, looking inside the suit for something more personal yet than his smell, and then kissing every corner of it, almost wishing to find hair, anything, to lick it, to put the whole bathing suit into my mouth." I'm sorry, that's just creepy, man. I don't like this narrator. I don't find him interesting. Like, I think he's just creepy. He just wants to be with this guy, and you also get the impression in the story that Oliver, he might be bi. I don't know. I don't really know the story, but he's been getting with all the girls in the city in Italy, and it's like, he's not interested in you. Stop bothering him. Stop obsessing over him. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much more about it. I'm not really enjoying it, but I'm still reading it. I'm going to try and finish it because it is on my TBR. I'm really going to try not to DNF it, but like I said, at page 100, which I'll be getting to probably tonight, I'm on page 76 right now. If I read it tonight and I'm just absolutely hating it, I probably will DNF it. That being said, like I mentioned, I did start reading my third book for the week, and that is Truthwitch by Susan Dennard. So the reason why I picked this book up is, I mean, it's part of my TBR, but I found out about it through Jade, over at Jade Reads, I believe her YouTube channel is. And she's doing a Witch Along. It's where the Witchlands series by Susan Dennard, they're reading a book from that series every month. And she had announced it back in, I want to say March, maybe April. I was like, oh yeah, I really want to read that. And I bought the trilogy. It was a box set. So I bought the trilogy. I have the first 3 books, minus the novella in between books 2 and 3. I'm actually going to go ahead and get that at some point soon. But I bought the books, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to read them along with her and with everyone else. I'm going to watch live shows. Never did it. It's not that it wasn't interesting to me, it's just that I never really got to it. And I mean, like, it's kind of a long book. Like, this one's 416 pages. Second book, I think, is shorter, and the third book is much longer. So it's not that I wasn't interested in it, it just wasn't something that, like, was on my radar that I really needed to pick up immediately. So, unfortunately, it just kind of sat on my bookshelf for quite a few months. And so I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and start reading this first one. And I'm actually enjoying it so far. I'm on page 44. So I'm on page 44 right now, and not really much has happened so far. We're kind of getting to know the 2 main characters, Safia and Isolt. So Safia is a Truthwitch, which means that she can tell if someone's lying. Basically, like when she's talking to them, she could tell like how truthful they're being. And then Isolt is a thread witch, which means that she could see the threads of like people's emotions and state of minds. She just can't see herself or other truth witches' threads. And they do a really good job, like, kind of explaining how, like, the different forms of witches and, like, how their powers work and how they're, like, seen in society, like, which ones are rarer to find. Like, truth witches are really hard to find. Blood witches are pretty much extinct. There's really none out there anymore. And, I don't know, they do a really good job. They really kind of give the impression that there's very specific powers that these witches have. Like, you can be a earth witch, which is like, you know, kind of like an earthbender in Avatar. You could be an earth witch, but then there's people that like have specific traits of being an earth witch that they like to focus on. For instance, there's this one person that's like a tailor, it seems like, and he's an earth witch, but he only works with silkworm silk to make garments and stuff like that. It could be very specific like that, or it could just be as broad as saying that you could see the threads or that you can bend water, whatever it is. It seems like there's quite a bit of like detail involved in that world, and I mean it's pretty interesting. So far in the story, Safia and Isolt, they got kind of in trouble with guards in the city that they live in, and so they were trying to run away from it. They ended up running into a blood witch. He kind of got the scent of Safia, of her being a truth witch. And so now they're like kind of afraid that he's going to be hunting them, because I guess blood witches, once they get the scent of someone, they can hunt them and probably kill them. I'm not sure. Yes, we got introduced to all the characters. They're kind of on the run right now. And yeah, I'm pretty interested in what's going to happen. I don't really know much about the story. I've heard that it's pretty good. So I went ahead and started this because it's a physical book. So I wanted to read this when my eyes were getting tired from reading The Binding Tempest. And I'm probably going to be doing that for the rest of the week, is like as I'm reading The Binding Tempest, if I need a break, I'm going to go ahead and read Truthwitch, and then once I'm done with it, I will finish Truthwitch. And this one and Call Me By Your Name is the last 2 books on my TBR for the month. I kind of held them off for a while because I was reading too many other books that I really wanted to read, but hey, I'm getting to it. That being said, I actually did read quite a bit more of The Binding Tempest, the main book of this reading challenge that I'm doing. And so I'm about halfway done now. I'm 49%. A lot has happened. For the most part, the biggest thing that's happened is that all the characters have met at this point. And this is probably the last update that I'm going to give, like details of, just because I don't want to spoil the book, because I'm about halfway done now. But all of the characters have met. We have Alaria, we have Elias, we have Laren, Tali, and Coven. So like all of them, and Wade, technically. All of them have finally met in the city that they're in. Alaria is kind of finding out more about like what's happening and what the government or whatever, the I don't know what they're called again, but like the government of this world, they're kind of hiding things, and she's starting to figure that out. She unfortunately has drawn Wade into all this mess, and she kind of feels bad about it, but at the same time she's like, well, he's asking for it, so whatever. Honestly, I'm not really enjoying Wade's part of the story. I feel like he's probably going to be important later on, but he's just not really interesting to me. I mean, he doesn't have any powers. He's just a student. He's kind of there just because he was there, you know, like there's nothing really else to it. I don't know, like his part of the story just isn't really that interesting to me. One of the biggest things that we found out is that Tolly and maybe Laren, they both potentially have the same powers as Elias does. We see Elias kind of using these powers, and we're finding out that he might be someone that we didn't know. And I'm not going to say that, so I don't want to spoil it, but he might be someone other than just Elias. And he has these magic powers, and they're really strong. And we're kind of finding out that Tolly and Laren might also have these powers. And Elias is like saying that he'll teach them if they're willing. So like, we're finding out more about that. And something that I was wondering in the beginning of the story is coming true at this point. So we have the power. There's powers, and there's like the mechanisms of steampunk. But there's also crystals. So like crystals are kind of like this, like, you know, like the myth kind of power that is in this world. But what it seems like is crystals can harness power. Different crystals can harness different kind of like power or spells, or just like, I don't know, like binding energy, whatever you might call it. They kind of harness it and to be used in the future. And it's used by the free cities and like the country that's like outside of the purview of this world mostly. But yeah, they mentioned that in the story, and I thought that was really cool. So we also find the main like plot of this story, which is that Elias really wants to find the Tempest Stone. And Tempest Stone seems to be like this artifact from the ancients that is really important, and it's like a big part of the story. I'm getting the impression. But there was one quote that I wanted to say that I found really interesting. So I think it's when they were talking about like the powers of the people. So Elias says to Laren at one point, simply put, it's called willpower. You see, willpower is the art of channeling the force of belief. Belief, young man, is power. I just thought that was a really cool quote. I'm finding really interesting quotes throughout the story so far, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm hoping to get another quarter of the story done tonight, and of course to read more Truthwitch and Call Me By Your Name. So I will check back in with you tomorrow. Hello everyone. It is now Friday, June 25th, and I actually have quite a bit to update you on. So I didn't get a chance to vlog yesterday. Kind of had a lot going on before work, but I did have a lot of time at work to read. And it's been a pretty slow week, so it's been really nice that I've been able to like get a chance to really push myself with this 150-page challenge. Now, I did fall short on Wednesday just a little bit, but then I kind of made up for it yesterday. I ended up reading close to 170 pages yesterday. So the biggest news that I have is that I finished The Binding Tempest yesterday. It was the book, as I've mentioned before, it's the book that I was reviewing, that I got a not really an ARC, but just a review copy through NetGalley for, and I was able to finally finish it. And I left a pretty good review. I gave it 4 stars. It was really good. It had a really good ending. Like it was kind of one of those like cliffhanger endings that made you feel like it's going to be a very expansive world. I don't know if it's going to end up being like a trilogy or a very long series. I kind of wish that I already had the second book, to be honest, but it definitely left me wanting more, and I think the character growth has really like shown throughout the story. At first I didn't really like some of the characters. Like I didn't really like Wade that much. I didn't think he was really that important in the story. I didn't think that Tali was super important, or Laren. Like basically all of the kids in the story, I didn't really think they really had much to say or to grow in the plot, but I was proven wrong. Tali actually ended up being pretty important, I think, in the story. And I don't want to spoil anything. I really want you guys to read this book, because it definitely was worth reading. I think it was like 430 pages altogether, but it was definitely worth it. Tali ends up having a lot more about her than you originally see when she gets introduced. Same with Laren. They kind of mention some things that are very strange, and I feel like they're going to definitely go more in depth with it in the next book. There's also a lot that happens as far as like the plot and as far as the setting of the world, and it grows throughout the story, but you really get a sense of how big this world is and what the history of the world and this great war that they keep mentioning, like how that history really plays into what's happening in the story right now. And you really see that a lot as you read through this read through this first book. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I did actually want to share a few quotes that I had found yesterday. I thought they were really good. So one of the quotes is by Elias, which is one of the main characters in the story, and he says, "What is life but energy and light? There's an energy to all things, and to all energy there is light, a signature." And another quote that I found really good was, "As much as you want to believe you're the chef of your own life, choosing the ingredients and cultivating a perfect stew, over time you eventually realize you are the soup, being stirred by unknown hands." And a final quote that I thought was really interesting towards the end of the story was, again by Elias. It says, "You assume people will react a certain way, and they do, but there's a possibility that had your expectations been different, so too would their reactions have been." I actually find that really true. I personally experienced that myself. I always assume that people are going to react a certain way. Whether it's book or in real life, I always assume someone's going to act a certain way, and I kind of react to that when they've never even done that, you know? Like, you just assume that they're going to do something, and so you react to that something when they probably didn't even think about it, or it wasn't even on their radar. I find that in my own life to be pretty true, and so the fact that that was a quote in the story and that that's how Elias views humanity really is pretty interesting, and I related to that, and it really connected me to that character in the story. So I gave it 4 stars. I have a review up on my Goodreads and also on NetGalley if you would like to go check it out, and I highly recommend getting the book. It came out at the beginning of this month, so I would pick it up. It's The Binding Tempest. So other than that, I have read more of Call Me By Your Name. I'm still reading it. I was very tempted to DNF it. I might still DNF it, although I'm kind of forcing myself to read it because it was on my TBR and because, I don't know, maybe the ending will be decent, but the rest of the story has not been good so far. I'm a little over halfway right now, and it's not good. And I also did read a little bit of Truthwitch yesterday, so I was able to finish The Binding Tempest before the end of the night, so I was able to read another 40 pages of Truthwitch, and I've only read 100 pages so far of the book, but I'm already really enwrapped by the story. Like, the story seems really interesting. All these different magics with the different witches sound very exciting. The culling of magic and how some people's magic kind of boils over and corrodes inside of them, that alone, that plot is very interesting, and I'm very curious to see exactly what that reason is, like why it's doing that, what's happening to them, what the plot is going to continue from there. And the two main characters, I'm at the point right now where the two main characters have separated because of events that have happened in the story, and they're kind of, you see two of their very different lives in doing this. And I kind of just left off where main things are happening between both of them, and I'm curious to see if the story progresses with them being separate and their stories kind of being separate but also being told at the same time. I don't know. I'm actually really enjoying it. I was a little afraid that I wouldn't enjoy it too much just because, I don't know, it just kind of gave me the impression I might not. But that just goes to show that you can't judge a book by its cover, even though the cover is beautiful. But yeah, I'm really curious to see where it goes. I'm hoping to finish it probably on Saturday. That's my hope, so tomorrow. But if I don't finish it Saturday, I'll definitely finish it on Sunday if I'm going to meet these 150-page goals. And then I'm probably going to have to read one more book to be able to reach the 150 goal on Sunday, which is the last day. And I'm probably going to end up reading Carmilla, but don't hold me to that. I'm not sure, but you'll see at the end of this vlog. But yeah, those are my thoughts for all of the books that I've read so far. Sorry that I haven't shown any clips of anything else. I honestly haven't done anything else in the last couple days. We did actually do a little bit of work on our art room down in the basement. I might show you that tomorrow. It's like a huge work in progress right now, so I don't want to show too much of it because it's kind of a mess down there, but maybe tomorrow I'll give you a little bit of a tour of what we've been doing down there, because we've been trying to reorganize things and make it a bit more comfortable. And yeah, so those are all my thoughts for the day. I'll see you tomorrow. Hello everyone, so it is Sunday, June 27th, and I have officially ended the challenge, the 150 page challenge for the week. I was almost there. I wasn't able to quite finish 150 pages today, and it is the middle of the day, but I am going to be pretty busy for the rest of the day. I have to do some editing for some videos, and I also have to get ready for the rest of the week. I have to plan the rest of the week for some videos to get some work done. I actually have something secret that I'm going to be working on and hopefully recording here in the next week or two. So I just have a little bit of work to do for that, so I'm probably not going to be able to read much more today. But I was able to get pretty close. I'm going to have here how many pages I was able to finish during this week. But it was a very effective week. I was able to finish The Binding Tempest, which I got for review, and it was really good. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I also DNF'd Call Me By Your Name because I just decided it wasn't worth putting any more time in it. I read about 125 pages. And I couldn't read any more of it. Maybe one day I'll finish it just for finishing sake, but I was not interested in it, and it was just kind of taking time away from me. The other thing that I did want to update you all on is that I finished Truthwitch. So I just finished it now. I'm going to be giving it 4 stars. It was really good. I wasn't really sure about it at first. Like, it definitely, the world and like the powers of these witches and like, you know, like the elemental powers, but like more specific ones with that. It seemed interesting to me, but I wasn't sure if like the plot itself seemed interesting. But then as I like followed the main characters, I kind of saw how the plot connected with each other and really kind of gave you an idea of where the story was going for the future, for future books. It is part of a series. I believe there are four or five books in the series. I have 2 of them other than Truthwitch. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm giving it 4 stars. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm going to sit with it for another day or two to see exactly what my thoughts were on it. I did really enjoy it. I could have done without reading it, to be honest, because it didn't like really captivate me, but it was still good enough, I believe, to give 4 stars just because like I did really enjoy the plot. I didn't want to put the book down in the end because it definitely had a lot like kind of leading up to the ending. I think it definitely is worth giving it 4 stars. I'm just not really sure. I don't know. I just don't know my final thoughts on the book yet. I have to think about it for a little bit. But yeah, so I just wanted to say this is the end of the vlog. I read 2 books and I DNF'd a book during this week. And I think other than that, it was a pretty good week. I got quite a bit done. There still is a few days left of whatever-a-thon, so I'm hoping to finish one more book. I'm going to be starting Carmilla, which is this like book that was written before Dracula, and the author of it, or I guess the author of Dracula, kind of had a lot of inspiration from Carmilla. So I'm really excited to read about that. I know it is Sapphic, I believe. So I'm curious to see exactly how the story is told, and gives me extra points for whatever-a-thon. So I'm going to hopefully get that read before the end of the month, and then because it's very close to the end of the month, I might try and fit another graphic novel in just to get one more book in. Otherwise, it's been a very productive reading month for me. So, yep, thank you for watching the vlog. I hope it wasn't too rambly for you, but I just really wanted to give my thoughts for The Binding Tempest since I was reviewing it, and just kind of give you an idea of, like, you know, what else I was reading throughout the week. Next week, I'm hoping to have a little bit more content besides just reading. I definitely have a few other things that I'm going to be working on during the week, so hopefully I'll kind of get myself to actually record some of it. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please like it. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And comment down below what books you've read recently and just what you're excited about for July. I know July is going to be a very fun month. It's my birthday next month, and I don't know, I just want to get to know like what you're excited for, like what your big plans are. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you watch future videos of mine, and I'll see you next time. Bye.